Seeing here, moving now onto the back side of main here. Looks like we've got some scratch marks. I think that was the Adam we had seen there. I could have been mistaken. No, actually, it looks like we found ourselves an ace. Now moving over towards it. We got our first tag here relatively early into our trial, around the 50 seconds, and it's been interesting seeing the sloppy butcher becoming shifted nice dead hard here to be able to avoid the M1, shifted a little bit more back into the meta since to change that hemorrhage status effect. So I'll be interested to see if you'll be able to combine that with the Thananophobia here to really get good slowdown on these gens, since you're not coming in with anything like a ruin. Oh no. Yeah, this is going to be extremely tough here, because we also saw where those survivors across the way got those generators done. They are able to rotate a survivor over, though. We had seen that that was a survivor that indeed helped that survivor up, so it's not going to be an unbreakable off the table just quite yet. As we had mentioned heading into the set here, right? Like, everything really kind of being at the survivor's disposal, with it being the nurse on the coal tower. So right now, going to want to get a reset. You already had your survivors do a good job. Even though you got the 2 down, you also banged out 2 gens, so kind of a decent trade here, honestly, right?
Not real quick, I think I was muted. Oh boy, that sucks to find out that I was muted the whole time. So yeah, we are gonna get into this, and we are gonna have Fallen Art being chased now, and it looks like we do have Wizzle going for the unhook, but it might just be a trade. Wizzle gonna take that first hit, and no, it is gonna be just the tunnel and the flashlight. You hear it on the back of Mad's head, trying to prevent the blink onto Hardwell.
I like the safety blink there, right? You do just the one, you get the double, you get the recharge back. Unfortunately, Deadheart is going to extend this chase here after the double blink with the swing and the miss. We're moving up more towards our top left area of our map. Actually, it looks like, yeah, continuing to just try and bury ourselves deep back in this corner, try and make this process as long as possible. Might buy our survivors here enough time here for, it sounds like, a 3rd gen. Question is, how close are we on generator number 4? I mean, we've got a couple of injured survivors. We haven't seen anybody healing yet, so it makes me think, okay, we at least see Adam now is going to be getting reset, but we also saw that Claudette had a whole lot of progress on that generator here. So I think this is going to be a 3v1 with only 1 generator left, as long as we aren't pulling up on the generator that's a rockin'. Doesn't sound like that's the case, so I would imagine we'll be seeing this generator complete relatively soon, unless maybe our survivors rotated over there to reset first. No, there it is, generator number 4.
Yeah, and you get Gen 4, but you're down a survivor, so this last gen, it looks like there is still that slight 3 gen on the top side of the map. You did get the generator in the main building very early on, but you still have 3 generators in close proximity. And right now it looks like Mad just wants to be able to protect these generators, make sure nothing is getting done right now, and just looking around trying to find anyone who might be working on these generators. But I suspect that they're, oh, we do have the scratch marks, and there's Wizzle.
So you wouldn't be surprised if Claudette was more healed back like on that 5 side of the map, right? Kind of back on the opposite side of Shack from where that generator had gotten done. But even regardless, there was one survivor healed, but that is going to be Wizzle going down relatively quickly. No pallet save enjoyers, it doesn't look like, in the area. So this will result in a hook stage. We can see getting started on a generator, not quite to about the 20, not even to the 25% marker over yonder there. And now going to be seeing, this is going to be a hook right out front of our main building. It's a good spot really for this hook to be at for Mad here. I mean, you got basically the ability to monitor 2 gens within, actually all 3 gens within your 2 blink area. So, I mean, honestly, right now can kind of vibe.
Yeah, and Matt is going to be using the pop on this generator, requesting, I think, what might be the only progress that Frama has at the moment. We do see the scratch marks, and I believe there's a survivor on or near this generator in the corner. We do hear the progress, and there's Fallen Art being spotted. And a very nice 2 blinks. Fallen Art takes the hit. Wizzle gets pulled off the hook in the meantime, though. There's the preemptive firecrackers, but it's a little bit too early, and Fallen Art goes down.
And this is going to be tough here. It actually looks like we're going to go for the slug, trying to build a little bit of extra pressure here. I was wondering if maybe we might double back on that decision after seeing the reset. I was wondering if maybe we were just pushing across the map to see if we can get some sloppy butcher value. Now seeing the swing and the miss here on to our Adam. Now the question is, do we wait for the Nia to rotate over for the pickup, or was that the unbreakable being used there? We're gonna have to wait and find out. There's at least 1 blink though with a tag here onto Adam, back by Shack. Yeah, right now you're spending time kind of away from your gens, but that's also going to require the survivors to do the exact same thing here in order to retrieve Wizzle off the hook.
Yeah, it does look like that was an unbreakable play from Fallen Art. We have Devok working on this generator as far from the killer as possible, but it's not a whole lot of progress. And you know Matt is going to be coming back. He has that pop goes to Weasel, so you're really going to be struggling to get anything done right now.
Yeah, it does look like we see Mad pushing up here into this top corner. Gonna go ahead and apply the kick. You can see at this point the second piston almost fully going, so around that 50% mark, but the pop 25% instant regression here. Now gonna check in on this generator over on the right side of the map, kind of what a lot of our comp players would consider kind of like that 3 area. Doesn't sound like there's really much going on over there. So for that reason, Mad doubling back. We have 2 injured survivors. And of course, with the sloppy, you don't really have the ability to hide the 99 the same way you would normally, kind of like we just saw. I mean, if you're having sloppy, you're going to eventually start losing the progress there. So with that missed skill check, might cause Matt05 to push back to the back side of main building. It looks like he doesn't want to overcommit, though, which is interesting because I feel like probably would have gotten that sound notification back there, but it does look like just trying to play the safe.
Yeah, and Mad was very close to where they were resetting, but did end up coming back and not committing to the chase. And right now, it looks like Mad's just trying to find a survivor. The reset's still going on behind the killer shack, and Devok still hiding by this far gen in the like 11 area. This is like the only map I know the clock callouts for. And Fallen Art,
2 survivors?
Yeah, that's 2 survivors. Both survivors that were being healed. And just as they get healed, Matt05 is back. He's over here and he's about to injure them again. It looks like we're committing onto Wizzle, which makes sense. I believe Wizzle is dead on hook. So there's hit number 1. And the flashlight comes through, but it doesn't get a whole lot. But Mad blinked a little bit too far to the left.
It's a lot of time away from those gens.
Yeah, I imagine Devok and Fallen Art are both just cranking those generators. And Wizzle does finally go down, but are those generators getting done? That is the question.
Looks like we still got quite, I mean, we still have a bit of time left on that. This could get interesting. They are doubled up on it, fighting through only 5% slowdown currently, thanks to the Thananophobia. The question is Mad going to be able to get over here and interrupt that? And I don't think they do. Yeah, it's going to be generator number 5 popping right there. Now our survivors get the opportunity to split these doors, maybe get some stages out like we talked about before going into this set. Wasn't going to be surprised if it's more about stages, and it looks like that just might be the case.
Yeah, we're currently sitting at 6 stages. I'm going to switch back to Fallen Art so we can fix that spectator bug. It looks like this might be a 9-stage 3 kills, which it's not bad, but considering that Devaka is going to be getting out fresh, that's a lot of points you're missing out on.
Yeah, I think the fresh hook being the most important thing, right? Because you mentioned that's a lot, you're depriving a lot of points from the killer here, so it really sets a nice condition for the killer coming out here. I think you had said it was going to be no, you said Matt was going to be coming out for here. I can't remember who you said we were thinking coming out for Nurse, but it's
Wizzle or Fallen Art for Trauma.
Yeah, okay, probably Fallen Art, I would imagine. Regardless of who's coming out with the one fresh stage, I mean, that means you really got to make sure you're being aggressive in the early game, honestly.
Yeah, and you have to get all of your fresh hooks. That is the only way you win this. You need all of those fresh hooks. Now, I don't think it would have gotten anything, but Fallen Art did have the deliverance and was fresh hook, so if Devaka had just waited a moment, we might have seen some kind of cheeky deliverance play.
Do you think the concern was just that they were going to be too far from the hatch to really make a play anyways, so just take the three stages out?
I mean, there's no way that Fallen Art gets anywhere with the deliverance,
right.
But it would have been it would have been more fun to see the attempt.
I feel that. But I mean, honestly, pretty big shout out. I mean, it looked like they're early. I mean, we got in a pretty early tag, and then, I mean, honestly, our survivors just really fighting back, cranking those gens. And you had mentioned we didn't see the deliverance. I guess we did see the unbreakable. We saw the unbreakable getting to help somebody get up off the ground, but we didn't even really use all of our resources to their disposal, and we're still looking at a pretty solid score from our survivors. So honestly, big shout out to them.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be true. You got the fresh out. I believe the score is 13 points for Trauma, Golden Wolves with 21. So not a bad result by any means, but we're gonna have to see what the survivors of Golden Wolves can come up with after the break. Hello everyone, and welcome back for real this time. We've got Fallen Art on the Nurse. The balanced offense was Rats brought add-ons on the toolbox, which is not allowed. So that's been taken care of, and we're back in it. Golden Wolves took a 2-point penalty for it, and that is about it. So Fallen Art has a little bit of an easier win condition now.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing is with the fresh hook still having the weight that they do, it doesn't quite make up for the missing fresh hook, but like you said, it does make the win condition a little bit more manageable. Also, because you've got so much information now, right? Of course, the survivors have exposed their perks, and we talked about heading into this matchup, the survivors having so much at their disposal, the deliverance, the decisive strike. Now Fallen Art knows all of that and should be able to game plan around that. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Golden Wolves are going to be able to do to respond because of that. We're going to be seeing it down here around the 70-second mark. We do see a first gen done with this little bit of time in the trial. We know that at least a second survivor was on that generator over there, but I don't think we're going to be seeing a second gen, but they've got a decent start into a second gen. And with no ruin, you don't have any instant regression. However, there is going to be a pop that allows a 25% instant regression right off rip.
Yeah, you talk about no ruin. This is actually the same exact perk build that we saw on Mad 05, copying the Thanatophobia Sloppy Butcher combo. And very nice blink from Fallen Art. Manages to get one blink right onto slow, and it looks like we're playing the unsafe palette, but Rats with the live manages to get a little bit of distance, able to run edge map, but probably won't be staying alive for too long. Yeah, Rats goes back down onto the ground, and if there's no decisive, this is gonna be a second hook.
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing here. I mean, I figured if we're going for an instant pickup probably not it, right? Again, Fallen Art knows. I mean, maybe we're just going to get it out of the way early, but I would imagine we're going to be seeing Fallen Art playing around whoever it is that does have that decisive strike. Like you said, second hook here. It is going to be far away from that, you know, pretty notorious 3-gen on the top side of the map, though. So might be interesting to see what kind of strategy Fallen Art goes with here to try and maybe pull the gameplay a little bit more towards that top side of the map here.
Or alternatively, you just don't, and you hold your 3-gen on the bottom side. You have the Killer Shack, you have a gen right outside Killer Shack in the middle of nothing, and then you have one on the hill, which admittedly it's a little bit harder to protect that one, but all in all, you're Nurse. Nothing is that difficult. Yeah, and it looks like Fallen Art just could be looking around, trying to find any survivors possibly coming in for the save, but this is a very open area, not a whole lot of places for the survivors to be hiding. So if the survivors don't make a play soon, it looks like Ras is going to be left to die on the hook.
Now the question is, if you allow for this elimination, what do you get in return? We see at least one generator getting done, but I feel like if you're having an elimination, remember an elimination, that's 120 seconds worth of hang time. I mean, I feel like you should have at least been able to get 3. I mean, we know that this one behind us here at main has a decent amount of progress, but it's tough.
Yeah, and it looks like we're gonna get a chase onto Rin, so that generator up in the main building is gonna need to be taken over by someone else. But we do hear this hill gen now has some progress. We were just talking about it as this gen being part of that bottom side 3-gen. So it is a bit tough. And it looks like Fallen Art is gonna blink back into the main building just seconds too late, unable to stop this generator from being completed. Rin gets pulled off the hook as Direwolf takes the first hit, and a nice dead hard, perfectly timed from Direwolf. There's the firecrackers, but it was a little bit early, and Direwolf goes down.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, at least you were able to get away from the main building. You had mentioned really nice dead hard to be able to prolong the chase, get a little bit more time here, but this is still gonna be a rather central hook here. I mean, we're talking about right outside of our main building. Now this is going to be our 3rd of our 4 fresh hooks. So right now, really would like to find Slow here, our Adam, which would kind of get us really kind of prepared for moving into the end game, because then at least you've got this fresh hook spread all the way across, and that means at that point, what you would only need the elimination on 2, and then I think that's what, 1 more stage. You can allow 1 stage out at that point, right, because of the penalty?
You could honestly allow, like, I think you can allow 4 stages out if the hook distribution is correct.
Oh, because it worked the other way. I was thinking, yeah, I was doing my reverse math there. No, you're right. Yeah, so you're actually right now, I mean, Fallen Art's cruising.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking really good for Fallen Art right now, and this is what we talked about in the pre-show, how Frama was going to come out strong on this Nurse round, and this is exactly what we're seeing play out.
Now, what do you think here? Do you think we try and see them just have Slow play really immersed and try and make the end game play? Oh, well, true, yeah. That's a good point. I'm going to be finding Slow back here now.
If you had asked that question like 10 seconds ago, I would have been like, that isn't really a viable play, because it can't just be Slow that gets out. Yeah, you still gotta do the gens. You would need to get more stages out. But yeah, Flow getting caught there. I mean, regardless of that being the only thing that matters, it is still not the best thing in the world to have Slow being caught. Looks like we're gonna have some stealth gameplay here, and it seems to have worked out. Dyer
no way.
Thought he got caught, but no.
I thought Dyer got caught.
Yeah. Fallen Art doesn't quite see Dyer around those boxes. A very close call for Direwolf.
That's absolutely insane here, seeing that here, able to get a good job. I mean, just that's gonna buy you a lot of time here, especially now with Adam being up as well. I mean, you've especially right now what you need is your Nancy here to just serve some juice, buy you some space, especially if you can break up that 3-gen. Unfortunately though, a very early tag from Fallen Art here, and also going to be seeing that our Nancy's actually moving more up kind of towards that top side here. Flashlight going to be able to buy you a little bit of time, but not much.
Yeah, unfortunately that flashlight isn't going to do too much for you when you're right next to the nurse. And this is going to be Rin being dead on hook, and there's still 2 generators left. There's only 2 survivors left. Things are not looking good for Golden Wolves right now. And there's, I believe that was Direwolf running away. Yeah, that was Dire. And right now Direwolf needs a miracle. Like, that dead heart has to be the best dead heart in the world, but it doesn't get used. Oh, but no slugging for the 4K. I mean, at this point, I don't think it matters. I think you've already won.
Oh, well, and then, wait. What?
I think Fallen Art saw Slow, just gut instinct was to drop and go for the chase, but they decided to confirm.
Realize how close they were. Yeah.
Decided just want to get the hook.
I was so confused, bro.
Yeah, Flo picked up the flashlight from Rin's dead body, and it looks like we're gonna have a nice little chase here. I mean, I talked about it. I don't know if I talked about this on stream, but Slow has had some really good chases this season, and I'm hoping that, even though it doesn't really matter, I'm hoping this is a good one.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you are able to pull something off here, especially if you could manage to pull off a hatch play, although we're quite a ways.
Never mind.
A quick run into the basement here. I was gonna say it would be like a nice little bit of like a moral victory, because these same survivors are going to be starting right back out on this plague set, right? So would have liked to maybe have still, even if it wasn't taking home the win, getting a stage or 2 out, knowing how close it is. But knowing the Golden Wolves and kind of their team chemistry, I'm sure they're not going to be sweating it too much. But I do think they want to make sure that they're coming out in set number 2 and really setting things off on the right foot.
Yeah, and with a score of 25-41, that is a very nice win for Trauma. But like we were talking about, Golden Wolves, they're just going to come out and play their game. This is a team that they don't get too ruined when morale is down. So I'm really excited to see what happens with the playground, because now the pressure kind of shifts. We expected Trauma to win this nurse round, which they did, and we're coming into Plague, which we are expecting Golden Wolves to win, based on what we talked about in the pre-show. So it'll be nice, because we're also changing that tempo that we talked about in the pre-show. We're going from a very fast-paced killer to a very slow killer. So it's going to be a very interesting reversal of what we just saw.
Yeah, it's going, and especially because you have to do, I mean, granted, you had said, right, like, that's a team that doesn't really, like, worry about the pressure too much and doesn't, like, cave to it. It is going to be, like, important with the slowing things down here, I think, making sure that, like, trying not to, you are slow, but with a purpose, right? Because I feel like sometimes if you try and move into the Plague set and you move too slow, inevitably, the longer it goes, it's going to feed the momentum into the killer side. So you kind of have to find like that perfect middle ground, right?
Yeah, and that is what Plague is all about. And I think we're getting the match set up right now, so we will see how that goes after a quick break. Hello everyone, welcome back to game 1 of round 2. We have Golden Wolves on the survivor side against Wizzle, playing the Plague for Team Trauma, coming off a win in round 1. And this is going to be a completely new game. And it looks like
Will, this is still DBD, dude.
It is, but this is going to be a very different way of playing the game. We do have Plague. It's not going to be super fast-paced, and I'm surprised we already have a chase right now. This is going to be the chase onto Flogaleo. going to be taking that infection early on, along with 2 of their teammates. I'm assuming they got on a generator somewhere. Yeah, that does seem to be the case. And Wizzle going for that power grab, wants that red puke right now, wants to get some value out of it before it goes away. And
yeah, we're gonna be seeing actually moving, and honestly right now our survivor doing a good job staying up in the corrupted side of the map. I wanted to point out that we actually have a couple of other survivors across the way
nice
already starting to get infected here. Nice locker. Now going to be seeing the grab here, but that does mean our survivors are doing a good job of already starting to try and attack those generators, which they're definitely going to need, because this first hook is going to be coming in around that 100-second mark, and it looks like this is going to be a basement. This is tough.
yeah, and okay, I did it again. We have a spectator bug. Yep. I mean, it is because I know what the cause is, so I should be able to avoid it. But we do see that first generator getting done in the middle of the map. And I imagine this is just going to be a camp at least a second, if not all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I would imagine, or they're just in a face camp right. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, chat, it's not just a face camp. They're right there. Is the spectator bug we were talking about? Does look like though we found one survivor relatively quick. That is going to be a down here onto Ryan. Ryan's going to be hooked. Looks like kind of more central-ish. We do see, our Plague here, Wizzle trying to rotate this hook back towards Bane so they can put pressure on the unhook. Unfortunately, the unhook from the basement already, actually not already coming through. That must have been a fast fall through. Now the unhook comes through. We are going to be seeing, though, picking up our corrupt purge here. Now going to be probably trying to just make sure that you don't allow for a free unhook here in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, most importantly out of that, you got Flo out of the basement. That is probably the most important thing that happened with that down. You got Slow out of the basement, and Rin gets pulled off the hook by Mad05, and we are back in a chase with Slow. We did see some nice jukes for a couple seconds towards the end of that first chase with Slow. Let's see if Slow has any more tricks left in the bag. It does not appear to be the case, unfortunately. Is there a decisive? No, there is not. I don't even know if decisive is allowed on Plague.
We are going to be seeing, though, this hook is going to be going onto the Pride Rock that has the entryway on the back side here. So the entryway is, you got to take a while to get there. It's going to take a bit to unhook this survivor. I don't know if we have anybody attacking this 3-gen that we currently have up on the top side of the map. It does look like we actually have someone across the map here. That's going to be really big. If you can get that gen done, that would be huge here. Survivor getting a quick tap from the corrupt purge. A little bit power left. Doesn't look like we're going to be worried about putting any pressure across the way. I think we might lose our 3-gen over there.
That is true, but you still have this 3-gen top side. You have these 2 gens very close to one another, and then you have that gen over a little bit.
I think that's the one that they're working on over here, though, right?
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
It is. Oh, this could be very bad for Wizzle.
There's 2 survivors on it. They're breaking up the 3-gen. Now, this is one of those situations where it's like, yeah, you're giving up an early elimination, but now you're gonna have 2 and 2 on either side. This is actually really smart from our survivors.
Yeah, you break up those 3 gens, and suddenly losing that survivor doesn't mean nearly as much to the killer. Although I will say, all survivors are injured, and it's like a broken record at this point. Do you cleanse? If so, where do you do it? Rin goes down right by the basement. That is not good at all.
Yeah, probably should have cleansed. No, unfortunately though, this is gonna be. I'm kind of surprised to see Wizzle not going for the basement with this hook. I'm wondering if maybe at this point trying to prioritize pushing across towards that shack side of the map. See if you can see what the gen situation looks like over there. We do see we've got a pair of survivors. Well, the pair of survivors up on a gen. They're trying to crank out generator number 4, and that's understandable, right? Like finishing gen 4 means that now the survivor, because if you don't finish the 4th gen, the survivors coming out from trauma here will be able to not even worry about a 4 gen, whereas or 3 gen, whereas at least if you complete this gen, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, and we did get a very nice stun from Mad, plus 10 wood to the face, as you would say. And we have another chase here. There were 2 survivors here a moment ago, but now there aren't. And yeah, that is gonna be Rats making his way across the map, getting the unhook onto Rin as Madden goes down. So we're really just trading hook stages here. His gen was so close to being complete. Now Wizzle should just be able to kick it and honestly just camp it out a little bit, force that progress to go down just a little bit. And puking on the generator, despite the fact that all survivors are injured, might just be instinct for Plague. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is like just in case you have them try and cleanse across the way before they push up for a save or something. I don't. That way they're forced to the decision, right? If they rotate in, that would be the only thing I would think. Or like you said, it's just kind of instinct. I mean, if you play Plague long enough, you kind of like getting that little bit of extra slowdown that sometimes the survivors are just afraid to get sick when they're not. So
yeah.
I don't know if they're at this rate. It's gonna be tough getting generator number 4 done.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the 3 gen to worry about, but still, Wizzle has a lot of pressure across the map. And again, this is 2 survivors being chased, both of them injured. They have to be very careful. That is going to be Shack Pallet getting thrown down. And I'm wondering, does Wizzle have any power left? Does Wizzle have any of those pools left where you can get the red puke? I don't know, actually.
I think since we brought in the yellow add-on, I don't think we have because no one's cleansed, right? So we've already used we've already used our pools. Yeah, looking around, we don't have anything available to us right now. I think that's part of the reason why we're not cleansing right now from the Golden Wolves. We're just trying to crank out gens.
Yeah, that might be the case, but we talked about it in the pre-show. You guys might not have heard it because I was muted. But Wizzle, very good on those M1 killers, so not that much of a handicap for Wizzle. We do have another generator getting completed, and
that's big.
This last generator should be pretty much free given where it is on the map. We did have Rats getting put on the hook, and that is going to be all survivors fresh hook, which is really good for Wizzle right now, just trying to find these other 2 survivors though.
There's going to be the unhook across the way, though. It looks like Wizzle is going to be more prioritized, trying to see if we can find somebody on this opposite side of the map. There it is. It's going to be Ryan back here at main building here. We haven't broken up that front door here yet. Probably kind of kicking ourselves a little bit at this point, wishing we had already done so. We are going to be seeing running the vault build, so maybe not the survivor we want to be investing time with, seeing as we got 2 survivors across the way on that generator that had a lot of progress. There it is, gen number 5 here, and now our survivors can split up the 2 doors that are over on this bottom side of the map, and basically the Claudette, Ryan, should just be able to rotate to whichever door Wizzle doesn't put pressure on. We might be seeing 2 survivors escaping, if not all 3.
Yeah, it looks like this door got close to done, but not close enough to commit. Might have just hit that part where you get the 3rd light. And this is going to be Rats going down, and I believe Rats is the most valuable survivor to find right now. Yeah, Rats and Mad05 both only been hooked once. Both are worth 4 points still. And it looks like we did have Rin cleanse across the map, so Wizzle would have to give up those doors if they were to go for the power. So looks like we're getting a chase with Mad. Door gets opened, and it looks like we might have saw a 1-for-1. Mad goes down, not able to do anything there. Now you just have to force Rin out of the game, and then you will be securing a lot of points right here.
Yeah, it's going to be a really big end game here for Wizzle, but still can't help but feel like, you know, with the early down back by Shat. I mean, we had a very, very early basement hook. I thought, I wasn't sure if at that point, if we were going to be able to maintain it, if we would have been able to just kind of camp out that first one. I don't know if we would have been able to get all 5 gens done, but man, to see this fight right now from the Golden Wolves through lets you know that they're really trying to make sure that they can take set 2 here and force a set 3, right?
I mean, you mentioned that you don't know how they recovered. This is Golden Wolves' bread and butter, so yeah. I'm not too particularly surprised. And score of 11-26 in favor of Trauma right now. Maybe not what you were looking for Golden Wolves, but not a bad score either, given that we've seen that Benny can consistently 4K on the Plague. So it really is just going to be the question that is the question going into the next round. Can Benny 4K? If the answer is yes, then Golden Wolves win. If the answer is no, then Trauma win, and we end the match. That is what it's down to.
That's a tough condition.
It's a tough condition, but if there's anyone who I would bet money on being able to do it, it is Benny Boy. So I guess I guess we're gonna have to wait and find out here as far as in trial number 4 between Trauma and Golden Wolves. I know I can't wait to see it. Sounds like Will can't wait to see it. We're probably anticipating y'all can't wait to see it. So we're gonna bring that trial to y'all after a very quick break. Hello everyone, and welcome back from that slightly longer break. We did have a bit of a crash happen. I believe it was Fallen Art who crashed, and we had to get him back in, get everything going again. So thank you for your patience. We do have Benny Boy now on the Plague for Golden Wolves against the survivors of Team Trauma. And already in our first chase, just going to be trying to get that infection built up. Maybe just going for just a plain M1. Nope. Wizzle decided to not take the pallet, and this should be approaching. Okay, what are these fillers? Some nice RNG for Benny Boy.
Yeah, we are going to be seeing, though, at this point, I mean, our friend Adam Wizzle over there is going to be pretty well far progressed towards the complete sickness here, which is going to start our first stack of that Thanatophobia. Also going to be seeing, as we rotate towards this main building, more of a 4-gen over on this top side. So understandable as to why we didn't want to overcommit too much to our chase over there on the bottom side of the map with Wizzle. We're going to be seeing that Corrupt Purge getting picked up relatively quickly. I'm going to want to make sure we're playing careful here around this pallet, because, of course, if you get stunned, that does knock you out of the power. You do get a first hit here, though, on to the ace. That does mean 2 entered states, 10% slowdown onto those gens, thanks to that Thanatophobia here. And it looks like we're not done applying pressure with the Corrupt Purge. We still have about 2/3 of our power left here. We also have 20 seconds added to our power here thanks to that amulet, the purple add-on.
Yeah, and we do see a very nice play around that pallet. Benny wanted to play it safe, didn't act too aggressively. Devok drops the pallet anyway, and still over at this tile. It's gonna be a little bit scary, and Benny almost with a very clean prediction, doesn't quite get the hit off though. And do we see round 2 Benny just walking around holding the Corrupt Purge? Not something we see too much, but it seems to have worked out here. A generator gets done as Devok goes down 15% slow on that Thanatophobia.
And that is now going to be hook number 1 down here at what a lot of our competitive players would kind of call that top right, kind of like more, not quite all the way up at the 1, but basically up in that 1 area. And we do still see has a couple of gens over on this side of the map, so not going to be surprised to see a little bit of application of the sickness onto the survivor there, that they'll at some point get completely sick here, right? They're going to just kind of build that up once they get off of the hook. Unfortunately now, though, with that generator getting done, oh my goodness, they're a bunch of filthy gen rushers. That does mean now that 3-gen on neither side of the map has now been broken.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to Benny Boy got unlucky with the corrupt intervention, and only 2 of the gens top side were blocked. 1 of the gens bottom side got blocked instead. So that is rather unfortunate with that corrupt spread, and Benny now has to play incredibly well from this point on. Remember, the winning condition for Benny is to kill all of the survivors. Failing that, Trauma goes home with the win in this matchup.
And that would be Trauma proving both of us wrong, if I remember right, from our predictions heading into the matchup. I'm not going to let you off the hook just because they couldn't hear you there, mister. We both kind of predicted the same thing. But we are going to be hearing, though, now or seeing, though, at this point, the Corrupt Purge is going to be picked up by our Plague player here. Makes sense, right? You want to try and put some pressure. The only thing is, like, where do you put the pressure? I mean, you've got 2 gens on either side of the map. It looks like we've located at least 1 survivor back here. This gen has a whole lot of pressure, but we need it down like right now.
I mean, you said we need ask and he shall receive. Hardwell goes down to the corrupt purge. Some nice mind games from Benny Boy, able to get that. Devok does get pulled off the hook eventually, presumably by Wizzle, since there is that infection started. And Fallen Art in all of this has just remained hidden the whole time. Benny Boy uses that pop goes to the Weasel, regresses that generator a bit, and we do have another gen very close to completion here in the Killer Shack. And no, I was wrong. This was Wizzle over here. It must have been Fallen Art going for the save. Gonna be running over at the TL wall, not the safest place to be.
Oh no.
And Wizzle goes down.
We see though Benny doing a very good job of, I mean, compounding down some pressure here in the late game, right? The only problem is we see 2 people paired up on this generator already at 50%. We had somebody across the way also had a decent amount of pressure on some gens. So Benny Boy's time is starting to slowly tick down here, and we're, you know, at a pretty limited amount of stages here. So I would not be surprised to maybe even see us go for a slug play sooner than later.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that Benny did bring that No Way Out, which currently has 3 stacks. So Benny will have more time in the end game if he does run out of time now, which it looks like that might be the case. This was not the generator that had a whole lot of progress. There was the generator in the Killer Shack that had a lot of progress. The generator over that we're looking at right now behind the dump truck that had a lot of progress. So things are looking a little dicey for Benny Boy right now.
Yeah, definitely getting the time is of the essence at this point. The good news for you though, you do have entrance states all across the board, so the snowball potential's there. Not only is the snowball potential there right now, you do have the 20% slowdown onto these final 3 gens thanks to that Thanatophobia. The only problem is you can really only hold chase with 1 survivor at a time, which does leave the other survivors to really do the easiest thing that there is to do in DBD, which is hold M1 and hit some skill checks, especially since now you don't even have to hold M1 with that toggle function. So gonna be working around, gets done stupid, says the Atom here, gonna be able to, I thought, build some distance. Does want to wait and make sure that does indeed get broken. Going to be seeing generator number 5, a No Way Out proc instantly. So with the 3 stacks that you had mentioned, 48 seconds left here before our survivors from Trauma can start working on these doors and try and get their needed 2 or more stages out the door.
Yeah,
we're overcommitting to chasing, I think.
Yeah, we might be overcommitting to the chase, but you need to kill all the survivors here. And I don't know, things are looking a little rough. We do see the survivors starting to cleanse, so we know the survivors are on this side of the map. It's just a matter of, it's going to come down to this corrupt purge. Can you get all 4 survivors? This is a rough spot for Benny Boy right now.
Yeah, I definitely don't envy the situation that Benny's in at this point. I mean, at least you've got the assistance from the fact that your 2 doors are on the same side of the map. But with 4 survivors all still being up vertical here, I mean, you don't have anyone currently allowing for any additional pressure. Now another survivor cleansing across the way here as well. So 3 survivors requiring the 2-tap in order to get put onto the ground. We actually see taking chase here away from the middle. And I can't help but wonder if taking chase away from the 2 doors here at this point is almost saying, hey, let me at least make sure I get 1, right?
Well, we do know that most of there's 2 survivors here. We know, I think all 4 survivors are on this side of the map, or at least they were a moment ago. So it's not the worst decision in the world, but you've got to get this hook right now. Oh, there's the doors. That's gonna be the match.
Yeah, as I say, we saw the cleanse, but I thought for a little while that we had probably gotten somebody rotated up and at least on one of the 2 doors, and those are going to be the important stages already out. I would imagine it's just Wizzle rotating towards whichever door is already opened or finishing the second one. Yeah, they're going to take the 3 out the door, and in surprising fashion from what you and I predicted. Granted, I did say whoever won set number 2 was going to be the winner of this set.
That is true.
Half right, I guess. But I was kind of expecting that. I should say kind of. I was definitely expecting that to be Golden Wolves. But as far as Trauma just really showed up. Maybe this kind of helps get that monkey off the back, so to say, right? That kind of, okay, you know what? We can perform against the top teams in the top league. Maybe this is exactly what Trauma was needing.
Yeah, I mean, I got boomed on my predictions. That was wow. Trauma, they showed up. They played really well. I don't really know.
We can hear it.
I don't really know what to say.
Really good. I mean, honestly, big shout out to them. And I think this is one of those situations that we see often in DBDLeague because it is like the top of the top when we talk about competitive teams, right? Like they all had to apply here. We had a committee that selected these teams. So the 2-0 is definitely closer than to what sometimes like a 2-0 sounds like. And I mean, it does only knock Golden Wolves down to 2-2 for the season. So they're still definitely within contention for a playoff spot moving forward. You're just gonna need to make sure that you're gotta make sure you're on your P's and Q's pretty well from here on out.
Yeah, and we talk about the standings. It is worth mentioning that the standings that we've been talking about today aren't the ones that are on the challenge officially. It's what we're working on for the season break. I mentioned it on Thursday that we're going to be revamping the standings and the schedule with all the teams that have dropped out over the mid-season break. So these standings are what are reflected in those changes so far. But yeah, this is gonna be really big for that middle of the pack trying to get into that playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trauma and Gold Wolves effectively have flipped where they are, so Trauma now have a much better shot at being in those playoffs once we get closer to that.
Yeah, essentially these two teams just went dead even with it, and they kind of added themselves in the mix with Modern Retro, right? Now all sitting at 2-2. Now it's not saying that two of these teams can't still slide up into that third and fourth spot because YoBoy is still sitting at 3-1, right? They're not too far off, whereas of course Eternal and Six are both still sitting undefeated. But I feel like both of these teams are kind of in similar spots moving forward from week 4 in the sense of both in contention, needing to still make sure you're really putting together back-to-back strong weeks, right? The only difference is, of course, Trauma is going to be moving forward with the win, whereas, Golden Wolf is going to be moving forward with the W, or with the loss from this week.
Yeah, and that being said, I mean, Trauma looked really good in this matchup. If they get another performance like this, or another couple performances like this, I think my faith in them will definitely be restored, at least here in DBDLeague. I talked about it in the pre-show, although I was muted. Trauma, they've looked good just in general, but here in DBDLeague, they've yet to perform. And if this match is indicative of the rest of their season, I think Trauma could very easily take that third spot. Maybe getting into that second place spot if they play incredibly and another team's kind of drop the ball.
I don't know. I think thus far when we talk about DBDLeague, Six and Eternal have both, I think, kind of earned their spots at like those top two. Obviously, Eternal been on a roll, not just in DBDLeague, just across comp in general. I think like 5 or 6 tournament wins in a row. So, but Six kind of showing that they belong to be up in that sort of conversation. So I think from there, everything else is free game. I don't want that to sound like bad on YoBoy currently sitting at 3-1. I just think those two teams have kind of set themselves a little above,
Yeah, and I would normally start like trying to gear this towards an interview, but we aren't actually going to have an interview today. Trauma, they don't like, I don't know why they don't want an interview, but they don't want to do an interview. They didn't want one last time they won. I'm not gonna force them to do it.
They're gonna go celebrate with the homies. Go pop champagne, baby.
Yeah, they gotta go celebrate and enjoy their win. They don't need some washed up ex-comp player asking them questions about it. So we're gonna get rolling right into the post show. I mean, we talked about the implications of this match for the season, but we didn't actually talk too much about the match itself. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to see Executioner, but the games we did get to see were very good.
Yeah, I think, when we talk about starting in the nurse set, we saw like really good strategies, communications, rotations, really being able to kind of stick together through like some hecticness from both survivor squads in set number one. I mean, Trauma did end up taking that point, but it was still really close. And even again in the survivor squad, or from both survivor teams on the Plague set, I mean, showing a lot of good ideas and strategies. Just, I mean, Golden Wolves unfortunately not able to put things together for a set win to force set 3. But I think, at least from the survivor side, and I don't want that to downplay what the Killers did. I think the Killers did great in all 4 trials, but I think the survivors kind of just really showed really good like cohesiveness. It's just Trauma was able to, as you had mentioned previously, kind of get the monkey off the back and get that dub today.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I think it does come down to the playground. The nurse round was really close, but the playground, if this was a best of 1 and we were just looking at the playground, I would call this match an upset for Trauma. Because if you do some Doctor Strange stuff, and like out of the 14 million possibilities, this is the one where they win. I do think Benny underperformed a little bit, and it might have been a little bit of RNG, it might have just been a bad day, or it might have been a combination of things. I do think the RNG definitely played a factor, getting that split corrupt, having all those filler pallets at the very beginning that he had to go through. I think that did kind of put a damper on Benny's game, but I don't think that the Benny we're used to showed up today, and that's my opinion. I think that it might have just been an off day, and you're going into the break now, you have time to kind of recoup yourself, and Wizzle just played incredibly well, got some really nice downs early on, got that basement hook, basically there was someone on the hook at all times while Wizzle was playing the Plague.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think just again, I think it was just a little bit of underperform. I don't want to say, I still even feel kind of saying bad underperformance on the Golden Wolves part. I really think it's just, I think when you look at today, I really think it's more about just kind of Trauma coming in and wanting to put their best foot forward. And I'm going to be excited to see. I think the biggest thing for me is being excited to see what they do moving forward from this, right? Like
Definitely.
Like, it's one thing, like, when you get the dub, but then it's about, like, what can you do following it? And seeing that we're right in the middle of the season, and you're talking about Trauma sitting, like, pretty well dead in the middle of the pack, like, this is the time to go for a run, honestly. So, gonna be excited to see what they do with these next couple weeks.
I mean, I'm really excited to see if Trauma ends up pulling a Crucifix, where, I don't know if you were around. Yeah, you weren't around for the regular season last season. Crucifix were, like, 0-4. So halfway through the season, they hadn't gotten a single win. And then they just roll every single match from that point onward. And they finished, I believe they finished 3rd in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So we could see Trauma just go on an absolute tear like we saw with Crucifix last year. And that's definitely going to be interesting. But we are entering the season break, so there isn't going to be a whole lot of that momentum. Because we are taking a week off, there's going to be a long time before we have some more matches. And I think both these teams are going to use it really well. This middle of the pack that we're looking at when we look at the standings is probably the most interesting set of teams we have. Because we have Modern Retro, we have Golden Wolves, we have Trauma, we have Soma here. All of these teams really
Even YoBoy really throwing them in the mix too at 3 right now, right?
Yeah, you could include YoBoy in that as well. Just all of these teams, just pick a day and the standings look completely different.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be really interesting.
Unfortunately, though, do we have a second game today?
Unfortunately, we do not. They do not have enough players. They told us that they were going to be able to play before we started today. So there is going to be no second match. Dawn forfeited their match against 6 today, so that's good. Not exactly what you want going into the midseason break, but at the same time, by not playing today, you've given yourself some more time. You don't have to look at a match today because you didn't play a match today. So you'll be able to go into the midseason break and just focus on something other than a possible win or a loss today. You'll be able to go forward without that recent event in your mind, which I think could pan out for them really well. And then 6, they were really looking forward to this match. Unfortunately, unable to play. I don't know what this means for Team 6.
I mean,
they're currently
they're currently in second place. I mean, it just kind of helps them make sure that they stay tucked as close to Eternal as possible, which I feel like with the rate that Eternal's kind of been going is kind of what you want to do, right? Because the closer you can stay tucked to Eternal, especially in the ratings, that means more than likely you won't be seeing them until later in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I think the Dawn versus 6 versus Dawn matchup was definitely winnable for 6, and I believe if 6 won, I don't know if it mattered how they win, but if 6 won, they could have very easily been in first going into the midseason break.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because it would go to a bunch of tiebreaker stuff. Not getting too much into the details, but it would put both Eternal and 6 at 4-0.
4 set wins a piece, right?
Yeah,
right.
4-0. So then it would get into tiebreaker stuff, which might have ended up with 6 being on top. So,
yeah, because I see actually it looks like 6 has scored the most points throughout the season this year. So
yeah, I mean, part of it that is they've had to play less sets, or they've had to play more sets, I should say. Eternal has played less sets, so you're just naturally going to have more points if you play more.
Right.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff for the standings. So, bottom line, no game after this, unfortunately. And then tomorrow we do have one more game. And as usual, I do not know what that game is.
Eternal versus Soma looks like on the schedule here.
Okay. So forget anything I was saying about 6 possibly being on top, because if Eternal wins tomorrow, then they're just on top because they have more wins. Eternal versus Soma. Soma, they forfeited their match in week 5. Eternal, they're just absolutely
doing
on a
Eternal
tear.
things.
Yeah, they're doing Eternal things. I don't think there's much to talk about. I do believe we are getting some artists played, which will be really nice.
Ooh, okay.
So, aside from that, I don't think there's going to be anything notable about that match. That said, we could see an upset. If we do see an upset, I will go ballistic, because there goes my entire predictions for the rest of the season. Because once something happens once, it will happen a bunch of times after that. So once Eternal's winning streak ends, I think the door opens for anyone to beat them.
Think so?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. They look so dominant. I feel like once they get caught slipping, I feel like that'll be like the like wake up sign and be like, yo, we just need to make sure that we're coming in prepared, like we didn't have the win streak, you know?
Yeah, I mean, true, but at the same time, if they lose a match, that sudden feeling of, oh, this is Eternal, they are undefeatable, that mentality kind of goes away. And I think that might be what holds some teams back. But yeah, that's it. Short week.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, part of it because of all the teams that dropped out. So yeah, rather short week. Like I said, on Thursday, we're going into the midseason break because of the teams that have dropped out. We're going to be making some scheduling changes, so we'll have more matches per week. Again, join the Discord if you want to stay tuned for that. But I think that is all we have for the post show.
Look at that. done in like an hour and a half, record time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we haven't had this short of a day in a very long time. And part of that is due to our staff behind the scenes.
Big shouts to them.
Yeah, our match staff today have been on point as always. The staff who organize everything have been amazing. The moderators in chat keeping the wild west of the internet under control. Thank you to them. Thank you to the players and coming out and honestly playing some really good Dead by Daylight.
Really fun games today to watch, really.
Yeah, and thank you to you, the viewers, for coming out, watching, and supporting everything we do here at DBDLeague. And I have to thank, arguably, the best caster here, YoBoyCue. Thank you for casting with me.
Honestly, it's just a blast to be able to come in, watch some awesome games. You mentioned it, 4 banger games today. Honestly, kind of sad we didn't get to see 2 more, but again, big shout out to Trauma for figuring things out and ending it in 2 sets. But always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, and that is all we have for today. Q, where can they find you?
You can find me pretty well anywhere that you can think of where content creators normally post: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Also on Steam, all at YoBoyCue at YoBoyCue, not the letter CUE. All right. Also, we post a lot over on YouTube's kind of the biggest thing. We're pushing for 500 subs over there. So if y'all can pull up and smack that button and ring the bell, we appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, anywhere you can think of YoBoyCue, literally anywhere.
And for me, we are going into the off-season break, which means I might have a little bit of time on my hands. I might finally finish my Alien Isolation one-shot playthrough.
Let's go.
So if you want to watch that, twitch.tv/Williawesome, as shown below my nice little selfie here. And then tack on the number 480 to that, twitch.tv/Williawesome480. And who knows, I might be streaming this weekend. Yeah, that's everything. That's all we have for today. So I've been Williawesome with the Dead by Daylight League, joined by
YoBoyCue. We appreciate y'all, man.
And we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.